Hello friends, in today's video I'm sharing 9 tips on how I read more books in 2020 than I've ever read in my entire life. There will be timestamps in the description box. But I have to lead with a disclaimer that 1, I was not previously an avid reader. I am new to reading as a hobby and a habit. And 2, 2020 had a big role in why I got into reading, thanks to the Pandora's box or the potato salad, the panoramic, Miss Rona, whatever you call it. Reading was a form of escapism for me, so it kind of became something that helped me to get through 2020. And so, yeah, I hope these tips help, and make sure to leave some of your own down below. So let's get right into it. Alright, so my first tip is to ease yourself back, or just for the first time, ease yourself into long forms of literature. So you ask yourself, are you able to read really long blog posts, articles, newspaper spreads, I don't know, just longer forms of content? I know that with social media and instant information, our attention spans have become much shorter, so you want to ease yourself back into reading longer forms of content. So you don't have to jump right into reading more books, but just try to read longer forms of literature. And so my twin sister can tell you, Michelle, that this time last year, if she sent me one of those long articles she reads, I would not be able to get through it. Like, I could not pay attention and sit through a long blog post. So that's why I started. She'd send me an article and I'm like, we're going to sit and we're going to read this. And no regrets, actually. She shares the most informative and interesting stuff. So that's why I started with the articles and blog posts, and then that helped me to kind of regain my attention span. And so once I went into a book, it was a bit easier. Tip number 2 is kind of linked to the first one, that you read short books. Start with reading short books. There is no pressure to read 500, 600, 700 pages when you could reach for a short book to start, get back into the flow of reading long form literature. So read short books. If you're given the choice of a short book and a long book and you've not read in a while, I think it's always easier to pick a short book to start. My third tip is to set better reading goals. Now, most people tend to set their reading goals around the number of books that they want to read in the year. And honestly, I've done that, say, for this year, but I don't think it could be the best goal, especially if you haven't been reading in a while. I think you need to start by asking, like, what exactly your reading goals are. It's to read more what? More books, more consistently. What does reading more mean to you? Be very clear about what your reading goals are, because say that your reading goal is out of leisure, then maybe reading more books that you like with purpose would be the goal. But say you're reading for an assignment, for a project, then maybe reading more consistently and learning how to read faster would be the goal in that case. So just be very serious and specific about what exactly your reading goals are. And a good place to start that I see many people recommend is start with a consistency goal, because it's about a habit that you're trying to build. So say that you're going to read for a set amount of time every day, or a fixed number of pages every day. So you can start by saying, I'm going to be reading for 30 minutes daily, and incorporate it into an existing habit in your life. So say 30 minutes daily as I take my breakfast, or 30 minutes during my lunch break at the office. So it's linked to something that already exists in your life, or 30 minutes in the evening when before I go to bed, something like that, after I've brushed my teeth. Or 10 pages a day. And with 10 pages a day, actually, in a month, that's 300 pages. You can get through a book a month. And 12 books a year is really, really good, because I think the average people read is 12 to 15 books a year, I think. I'll find out. But yeah, so be specific about your reading goals. Now, my fourth tip is to listen to audiobooks. Would this be a how to read more books video if I don't recommend audiobooks? No. Audiobooks are awesome. They are fun. You can listen to them on the move, in transit, on your way to work, while washing dishes, while multitasking, while twisting your hair. Game changing, guys. So I know that some literature or reading purists believe that audiobooks do not count as reading, and that's their problem. Because I also think that it is a bit ableist to think that audiobooks don't count as reading because some people cannot actually read. I think people forget that even the literacy is not worldwide. Not everyone can read, but maybe they can listen. So accessibility comes in with audiobooks. But anyway, that's besides the point. Audiobooks are really, really a fun way to get into the story, especially when audiobooks are done right. The narration can really get you into the book and into the world. So I love me a good audiobook. There are different platforms. There's Audible, there's Scribed, and then some people use like library, like Hoopla and other sources. If I remember them, I list them out. But yeah, just find a source for your audiobooks and get to reading. Now, my fifth tip seems very obvious, but read only books you enjoy. There's a lot of pressure as to what reading looks like. So, like, I know here in Kenya, the most read or bought, let's say the most bought books are and sold books are self-help. So I think there's this image that reading only looks like reading nonfiction or reading, I don't know what seriously looks like, but read whatever you enjoy. If your thing is romance or fantasy or mystery or horror or crime or I don't know, nonfiction, yeah, it's self-help, fine. Whatever it is that you like, it counts. So nothing is excluded. Read only what you enjoy and read just that, because at the end of the day, depending on why you're reading, if you're reading for you, then you should get to enjoy it and choose what you want to read. My sixth tip is do not feel guilty or do not be afraid to not finish a book. You don't have to finish every book you start. Okay. Say it again for the ones at the back, Sharon. I said you don't have to finish every book you start. So if it's not working, drop it. You're going to hang on to that book and you could be reading numerous other beautiful books that work for you. So just let go of that guilt of dropping books. It's okay to not finish a book you didn't like. My seventh tip is to try reading more than one book at a time. Now, this might not work for everyone, but for me, I'm always, or more often than not, I'm reading 2 books at a time, as long as it doesn't confuse you. So often it's 2 books that are either different genres or different formats. So say one is a physical copy or an e-copy and one is an audiobook, and maybe one is a fiction and one is a non-fiction. So I know it can be hard to do that, say if you're reading 2 fantasies at the same time, because there's world building in both and that might be very, very confusing, and the characters and all that might be a lot to remember if you're juggling 2. So, but if you have 2 books that are not similar, it can also help when, say, you kind of get bored of one or you just want something for a change, you can switch between the 2 books. Number 8. So it's kind of linked to number 1 and 2, but pick formats that are easily digestible for you. So all reading is reading. If, like, don't forget that picture books, children's books, middle grade, graphic novels, comics, and mangas, all that counts as reading. And so if those are formats that you enjoy more, then read more of that format. If audiobooks is what you digest better, then listen to more audiobooks. Just remember to it's all for you. So pick formats that are easier to digest so that you also get over that slump or that friction. I think sometimes with any habit that you're struggling to pick up, look at it as what is causing friction here. Like, why can't I pick this habit up? And try and reduce that friction as much as possible. My last tip would be to watch, engage, follow people who are passionate about reading and about books, because there's something about community and interacting with other people who are enjoying reading. So if you didn't know, there is a whole section of YouTube called BookTube, and on Instagram there's Bookstagram, and there are so many people who share all the books they're reading, books that are on their radar. They give recommendations. There are online book clubs. I mean, the communities are so big and so diverse. You're guaranteed to find a person or a group of people who have similar reading tastes, or at least who can give you some of that group motivation to read. And I think that you, if not online, you can also find this community offline. You can join a physical book club or just a remote book club, or just start reading with a few of your friends. I think that aspect of reading really has helped me, especially in 2020, because I would join like the live shows at the end of the month, and you feel the motivation to actually read and finish the book by the end of the month so that you can join in on the conversation. The caveat though is there is pressure. There is pressure when you watch people who read a lot of books and very fast, and a lot of recommendations can get overwhelming. So just make sure you manage that and don't be too stressed out by not having the latest book, because there's a lot of consumerism in that space, or in any space at that. Just if you find yourself getting pressured to read certain things or read more or buy more books, then it's a sign that you might want to step back and just go back to your goals and your individual tastes. Now, I know that there are scientific ways to read faster. Say, like, there's something about removing the voice in your head. I think it's called subvocalization, because that tends to slow down your reading pace. And also kind of scanning, like following the words as you read, helps you to read faster, because I think it helps with removing that voice in your head. So there are ways to read faster, but you don't have to learn how to read faster. You don't have to read more or read faster. And so I know I have shared tips on how to read more, but you don't have to. Like, I think there's a lot of pressure, or there's this association with reading more and being more intelligent or more cultured or woke and whatever. But there are other forms of consumption that can give you the information you need. There are podcasts, there's YouTube, there are TV shows, there are documentaries, there are movies. I mean, like, there are limitless forms of content that you can consume that could work better than books. So don't feel bad or feel the need to read more because it looks cool, or I don't know. Just read more if you want to. Of course, if it is something you love or used to love and it's a hobby you want to pick up, then I do hope these tips helped you. Drop down any other tips that I may have left out, and leave a like if you did enjoy this video. If you liked this video, you'll probably like my video on digital minimalism, so I'm going to put it on the screen right now for you to go and check it out. Always remember that your hair is your crown, your body is a temple. Embrace it, love it, and take care of it. Bye!